Okay, here we go with geometry notes. Number 15, prove angle pair relationship. This is section 2.7. Your essential question is what relationship between vertical angles, between two angles supplementary and the same angle, and between two angles that are complementary to the same angle. This relationship is that they're all congruent. Theorem 3, right angle congruent theorem. It says all right angles are congruent. Okay. Theorem 4 is the congruent supplements theorem. So if two angles are supplementary to the same angle, then they are going to be congruent to each other. On number 5, the congruent complement is just like the supplement, that if two angles are complementary to the same angle, then they're going to be congruent. And then we have a postulate 12. It's a linear pair postulate, and this is what I've kind of been saying all along, that if two linear pair angles are actually supplementary to each other, so that means they add to 180 degrees. And then theorem 6 says vertical angle congruence theorem, says that vertical angles are congruent. So we got a lot of angles here that are actually congruent or supplementary, so you got to pay attention to what types they are. On example 1, it says complete the statement below. If that measure of angle AGF is 90 degrees, AGF, this angle here, is 90 degrees. Let me slide it over. They want to know what the measure of CGD is. CGD is opposite of it, which means it's a vertical angle. And since it's vertical, that means they are congruent, which means it is also 90 degrees. On B, it says BGF is 113. B all the way to F is 113 degrees. Then BDG, I'll say it right, DGE right here is going to be how much? Well, I would have to say, now looking at it, I was trying to analyze it just a little bit. Since this is 90 and this part's 90, 113 minus 90 would be this angle inside here, which will be vertical to this angle, so they should be equal to each other. So if I take 113 and subtract 90, looks like it's going to be 23 degrees. Okay. Alright, number 2. It says find the angle measure. The measure of angle BGD right there is 90 degrees, so I'm going to put a box. And it says CGD, this little angle here is 26 degrees. Find the measure of angle 1, 2, and 3. Alright, well, if I look at 1, I know it is complementary to the 26. So to find the measure of angle 1, I'm going to do 90 minus 26 to find out what it is. I'm going to use my calculator just to make sure, oops, I don't mess up, of which I did. Equals, and that says that one is 64 degrees. Measure of angle 2 is on the other side, and if the right hand side is 90 degrees and the left hand side is also going to be 90 degrees because this forms a linear pair. So I can look at it straight out and say that this is 90 degrees. And then I'm left with one more angle. Let me get green this time. Measure of angle 3. By looking at 3, this angle here is vertical straight across to the original angle that they gave me. Those are vertical angles. Therefore, the measure of angle 3 has to equal the 26 degrees. And there's my 3 angles. Remember, vertical angles share a vertex and have opposite rays as sides. Okay, number 3 says use algebra, solve for x. If I'm looking at these angles, what kind of angles would you call these? And on this one, I can actually ignore the bottom. Notice these are supplementary angles, but they're also called a linear pair. Okay, those coincide. Either way, that means they both add to 180 degrees. So I'm going to put this together. 2x plus 3 plus the other angle, which is 25, is going to equal a total of 180 degrees. I'm going to simplify this, so I'll have 2x plus 3 plus 25 is 28 is equal to 128. Subtract 28, and I'll have 2x is equal to 152. Well, then I have to divide by 2, and that tells me x is equal to 76. Okay, here are 6 independent practice problems for you to work on and have those in class, and we'll check them to see if you have the right answer. Don't forget about answering your summary. I will be picking up your notes.